Whispers, Beyond the Veil. Episode 5, The Mirror's Reflection. Chapter 1, Fractured Glass. Evelyn Carter couldn't shake the feeling that the world had cracked around her, like a mirror with hairline fractures spreading beneath the surface. The air felt heavier, thick with an invisible tension that clung to her skin like static. Sounds seemed distorted, too sharp, too distant, as if reality had been slightly detuned. The faint hum of the refrigerator felt like a growl in the silence, and even the warmth of her breath seemed foreign, like it belonged to someone else. Colors dulled, and shadows stretched unnaturally, flickering in her peripheral vision, disappearing when she tried to look directly at them. After the ritual, nothing felt real, especially herself. Her reflection no longer mirrored her movements precisely. Sometimes it was just a second too late, and sometimes it did things she didn't. Her apartment grew colder each day, shadows lingering longer than they should. The mirrors in every room seemed like windows, and she felt eyes pressing from the other side. She avoided looking at them, but sometimes they caught her anyway. "You can't run from your own reflection," a voice whispered, though she was alone. Chapter 2, The Stranger in the Glass. Evelyn's paranoia grew when she noticed small objects moved around her apartment, books placed upside down, chairs slightly out of place. But it was the mirror that terrified her most. She started catching glimpses of a figure in the reflection, standing just behind her shoulder. When she turned, nothing was there. Desperate, she covered every mirror with sheets and tape. But the reflection, it didn't need glass anymore. She saw it in windows, puddles, even polished surfaces. It was her face, but it wasn't her. The eyes were too dark, flickering with a faint, unnatural gleam, as if something watched from deep within. The smile was too wide, stretching just a fraction beyond what should be humanly possible. Worse still, the reflection would sometimes blink out of sync or tilt its head slightly when she remained perfectly still, as if studying her from the other side of the glass. She wasn't losing her mind. Something was wearing her reflection. Chapter 3, The Shattered Mind. Seeking answers, Evelyn tracked down an occult scholar named Dr. Madeline Crow, a woman who specialized in mirror lore and ancient rituals. Dr. Crow explained that mirrors are more than reflections, they are gateways. When you performed the ritual, you didn't close the door, Evelyn. You left it wide open. Evelyn learned that she was facing an entity known as the Hollow, a being that thrives on identity, feeding by mimicking and eventually replacing its host. The longer it stays, the less of you there will be left. Chapter 4, Breaking the Reflection. Evelyn and Dr. Crow devised a plan to confront the Hollow. It required a dangerous ritual, facing her reflection in a mirror maze crafted from shards of glass tied to her past traumas. They traveled to an abandoned funhouse known for its maze of mirrors, long since shut down after unexplained disappearances. The air was thick with decay, and the walls seemed to breathe. Inside, Evelyn faced not just her reflection, but versions of herself twisted by fear, regret, and rage. One mirror showed her drenched in darkness, her eyes hollow voids, whispering cruel doubts she had buried long ago. Another version appeared gaunt and fragile, her skin pale as ash, representing the regret of choices never made, clutching a faded photograph with trembling hands. The most terrifying reflection was one bathed in crimson light, her face contorted with rage, lips curled into a snarl as she pounded against the glass, desperate to break free. Each version radiated an overwhelming sense of familiarity, forcing Evelyn to confront the fractured fragments of her own soul. Each mirror whispered her deepest insecurities, pulling at the fractures in her mind. Chapter 5, The Final Confrontation. In the heart of the maze, Evelyn found the true reflection, the Hollow. It greeted her with a grin that stretched too wide, its eyes black voids that seemed to swallow light. "You brought me here," it whispered, "and now you'll never leave." Evelyn realized she couldn't defeat the Hollow by fighting it. She had to accept her darkness, reclaiming the parts of herself she had buried. As she embraced her fears, the mirrors around her shattered, light pouring through the cracks. The Hollow screamed, its form fracturing like glass under pressure. Chapter 6, The Cost of Looking Back. When Evelyn woke, she was alone in the ruins of the maze. Dr. Crow was gone, her belongings scattered like she never existed. The mirrors were nothing but dust. Back home, Evelyn faced the only mirror she had left. This time, her reflection moved with her. No delays, no shadows. But as she turned to walk away, the reflection stayed still for just a moment longer. Then its fingers twitched ever so slightly, as if flexing with newfound autonomy. The corners of its mouth lifted into a faint, unsettling smirk, and its eyes gleamed with a flicker of awareness that Evelyn could feel even with her back turned, and smiled. End of Episode 5, The Mirror's Reflection.